My light's been cut off. My cable been cut off.
I went on assistance when Envy took over.
This morning I was at a food pantry.
In May, we was privatized. MV came in and I lost my benefits for about 2 months. I lost my pension.
When we first got our first manifest and they told us that we wasn't gonna guarantee the 40 hours, that I had to go on assistance. I couldn't wait to drown.
Makes me feel bad. I'm a grown man.
The living wage it's not, you can't live off of it.
I can't depend on my check.
I shouldn't have to go to a pantry and depend on public assistance working for Metro Access. That's how I feel.
The general trend in privatization, whether we're talking about privatization in prisons or privatization in public transportation, is that when there are cuts to workers' salaries, the CEOs, the executives are making 7 or 8 figures, and that is unfair.
Privatization is just plain old corporate greed. On paper, it looks like they saving money, but in the long run, they losing. They're gonna have to rebuild from the bottom to get back where they were when the privatization started. First Transit failed to maintain the buses to a point where 95% of our buses should have never been on the road. 95%. That's the lack of maintenance. Today, we have buses that go down K Street in motion and the doors will open on their own. That's a maintenance issue. We have buses that'll turn off right in the middle of the intersection while you're trying to make a turn on K Street in rush hour traffic. Maintenance issues.
When I was with Marta guaranteed me 80 hours every 2 weeks, and I never had a problem getting them. When MV stepped in May and took over, it went from 80 hours every 2 weeks to maybe 70 to 72 hours. And in order to get that, I had to almost beg them to do that. And now it's to the point where every pay period that we have, I have to go to payroll because they done short my check. I have to explain to my grandson, hey, Granddaddy, can we watch whatever he want to watch on TV? Well, I don't have that channel. Well, why, Granddaddy? I just can't afford it right now. Those 8 extra hours that I'm not getting is the difference in me paying my bills on time. Because now I'm living really paycheck to paycheck.
I do get food stamps and I was getting Medicaid for her and me. She does not know at all. She thinks we going in the store and mommy swiping her bank card. That's what she thinks. It makes me feel awful sometimes because I do want better for her. I don't want her to have to go out and do the same as me. I want her to get a job where she don't have to depend on the government. If the company was offering us our 40 hours and our raises, we should not have to work overtime at all. And I wouldn't have to be on assistance at all.
I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. It's 6 people that's living here. I'm sitting there struggling feeding them. I received a 2-penny raise. I mean, that's not even tax. I struggle every day. Sometimes I want to cry because I'm struggling. And I get out here and drive 12 hours. And get frustrated because I'm like, it's no food. I'm not getting paid enough. It bothers me.
Companies that win contracts oftentimes say that they can provide the public service in ways that are more efficient than the government. And some companies also say that they can provide the service while saving the government money. But when a company actually wins the contract, in order to provide the service with fewer resources invested while also maximizing profit for shareholders, the company will cut corners on the service, and that can have just harmful effects for people who use the service and for the general public.
Sometimes I've been waiting 2 hours. When I call in, oh, the driver will be there in 5 minutes. There's an astounding difference between 5 minutes and a couple of hours. I've been blind since shortly after birth. I'm now 78. I take Metro Access almost every day, many times, several times a day, because I really have no other way to maintain my independence and to move about the community. It is absolutely not the driver's fault. The drivers are held hostage and their paychecks are used as a bludgeon. The administration is the generator where all the foolishness comes from. They don't train their dispatch people properly.
MATA trained us in 52 days to learn this job. And it was 52 days well earned. We needed that in order to do this job. Well, MV, they training you in 1 week. It's impossible to do this job and learn this job in 1 week.
This is the only mode of transportation that I have. Since the changeover, I missed 3 doctor's appointments, and they're very important to me. And when I missed those appointments, I was told from the doctor's office that I would have to come out of my pocket and pay a $25 fee, which I cannot afford because I'm on a fixed income. So now I'm afraid to even schedule or try to schedule for doctor's appointments. I have children, but they have their own lives, and I can't infringe on them to take me, come and pick me up and bring me back home because Marta left me. It's me by myself.
Before any client can board the van, they have to show their ID and pay their fare outside of the van. Because sometimes if they don't have the fare, we're supposed to call it in and then we're not going to take them to their destination.
If I pull out 10 ones trying to give a driver $13, the problem with paying outside the vehicle, it looks like I have a handful of money. I don't want a driver or myself knocked in the head over a handful of money. It's not worth it.
I do worry about getting robbed. I really do, because like I say, I never know who's watching. I never know who's following me.
It's illegal. People with disabilities have an accommodation under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And the accommodation that I demand from Metro Access is that I pay in the vehicle and that I show my ID in the vehicle.
The drivers for the MV service for Metro Access drive long hours. They work anywhere from 10 to 16 hours a day. They barely make a little over minimum wage. They have no vacation. I mean, if they get sick, they can get fired. MV makes all this money off of that and pays little or nothing, and they don't maintain the equipment properly. So you got drivers that's writing up equipment saying that this is wrong. And if the driver write it up, then they'll move that driver, put another driver in that same piece of messed up equipment, send them home for the day, and get that van out there carrying disabled people in an unsafe vehicle.
I had a bus tear up on me to the point where I could drive it, but it was unsafe. I drove it back to the yard. That bus was back out on the road the next day. They just sending them right back out because they're not fixing them.
It's just an accident waiting to happen. Eventually something's gonna fail.
The cuts to services that come with privatization, I would say, erodes the fabric of our society and people's faith in government.
They don't give a rip about the clients. All they're looking for is their own convenience. Their bottom line is their own selfish bottom. They don't care.
We had a voice. Now we don't. It's all about the money.
I don't think the company cares as long as you're doing what they need you to get done.
If they invested in me, it would definitely work better.
I feel like if you invested in your workers, that this job will run much better.